So welcome to Petrus 53. We're in Django Fest 10-year anniversary, but most especially 100 years of Django Reinhardt, enjoying a little glass of wine with Michael. Endelsheim, Pinot Noir, the Willamette Valley, 2008. Have a little sip and we'll... Beautiful. Just light and beautiful wine. So Michael, tell us about, like, first of all, how did you become involved? When did you fall in love with the music of Django and Gypsy Jazz and all that stuff?
Well, I first heard it when I was a teenager.
Okay.
I lived in North Carolina. I went to high school in North Carolina, and I was playing bluegrass with this much older guy that played violin. And I went over to his house to practice one day, and he said, "Oh man, you got to hear this!" And he put on Django Reinhardt and Stefan Grappelli.
Yeah.
And that was it. You know, immediately I was like, "This is for me," and really wanted to play it ever since then. I was about 19 years old, but at that time, this was like in 1990.
Yeah,
it was hard to learn how to play this. I mean, I knew there were guitar players around you could learn swing from, or like regular archtop jazz and things, but to learn what Django was doing, yeah, I just would sit down with the records and try to figure it out myself. But you know, the technique was wrong, the instrument is wrong, the fingerings are wrong, and so it was really hard. And so I ended up playing things, you know, performing things that were more accessible, just like regular jazz and things like that, different kinds of folk music at times. And it wasn't until I later came to the University of Washington in Seattle that I was studying ethnomusicology, working on my PhD, and I got a Fulbright grant to go to the Netherlands to study with the gypsies that lived there. And that's how I really learned to play the style. And at that time, that was 2001, even then there weren't many resources online or books or anything, so you really had to go and study with them there. So that's kind of how I really started to play this music more seriously. But I had been playing jazz for many years, so that helped. But the actual technique and the finer details of this music, I had to go to Europe to learn. So.
Wow. And of course your Django book, you know, the website and the forum, the CD, all those books. Tell us about that. Why did you decide to start this and when? And
well, it was just completely, you know, just groping in the dark, like by accident. You know, it wasn't like I had some master plan to do anything. I got back. I studied in Europe for a year and had a great time.
And where was it again?
I was living in Amsterdam, but you know, I studied with Sinti that lived all around the Netherlands, with Paulus Schaefer and with Martin Limburger and Fabi Lafferton, and also with just, you know, Dutch guys or guys that lived in Amsterdam, like Robin Nolan and Rainier Wout and Jan Brouwer, and all those guys helped me learn this style. And so when I came back, it was time to write my dissertation. And unfortunately, I didn't get any. I got funding to go to Europe, but I didn't get funding to write the dissertation, so I had no money. And so I got this idea that I would write a book about some of the things I had learned. And the most important thing was the picking. It's now kind of famous, the gypsy picking. Yeah. And that, you know, for me, when I first saw the gypsies playing like that, I couldn't believe it. And it seemed to be the single most important thing to play this, and I worked really hard to learn how to do it. And so I decided to make a book about that, and I felt like other people would really want to know that. And the idea was that maybe like the money from that would help me support me while I'd write my dissertation. But then I just started writing more books, and then you know, I'd have the books on the site, and people would call me all day, say, "Hey, where can I get some strings?" Or, "Hey, where can I get a guitar?" Or, "Hey, I want the CD." So I'm like, "Gee, I got to have all this stuff too." And so before I knew it, I had like 2,000 things for sale, and it just became like a gypsy jazz superstore. So it was completely by accident, but you know, yeah. So.
And all online, huh? You don't have a store, like you don't.
You couldn't, yeah. There's not enough people. I mean, this style is still, it's grown a lot. I mean, I think from the '90s, especially started the late '90s. You know, I think like groups like the Rosenberg Trio really made it popular again, because it was kind of like a whole dark period, you know, of gypsy jazz where it just wasn't that popular, and it's unfortunate that, you know, players like Fabi Lafferton or Raphael Fies and guys like that were young and in their prime in the '80s. Nobody paid attention to them, and it's too bad. But yeah, since it's grown, you know, there are definitely more people out there, but still, to have an actual store that people come in, you get, you know, even in Seattle where there are a lot of people that like this music, you get like 3 people a week in a store. I think maybe only in Paris could you do that. So.
Is that true that you sell CD to France? Some guy.
I sell lots of stuff to Europe. Yeah, absolutely. Because
funny.
Guitars, everything. Yeah, it goes a lot. So.
Yeah, tell us about that side that you start selling guitar and what.
Yeah, I mean, it's just again, it's just people would call me all the time because I had this website and I got kind of known for the books. And I just sort of became this person that people could email or call and ask questions about anything. Just people always asking me, what guitar should I buy? Like every day, people are asking me that, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, if I'm going to spend the time answering these questions all day, I don't want to be a jerk, and you want to help people out, but I feel like I probably should have some of these for sale, and so it just kind of grew out of that. And first I had some of the Asian guitars, and eventually I was able to get some of the European instruments, and at this point it's just everything. It's even the oldest and most expensive Selmer guitars and stuff.
Real Selmer,
yeah, just because the site is popular, and so it makes it easy to sell things. There are a lot of people looking at it every day. So. And yeah, it's really a wonderful part of the whole business that I get to see all these interesting instruments that are so rare. I mean, even people in France would hardly ever see some of the stuff that comes through my living room. So and they're really beautiful and interesting instruments, and I think it's a really amazing tradition of guitar making, and really overlooked by the rest of the guitar world, and there's this sort of whole kind of like Italian, French tradition of making guitars that has been overlooked, and I think they're the best guitars in the world, so I'm really happy to have them.
I will talk tomorrow or today with Bob Olo, so what do you think of his making? What do you think of his guitar?
Total crap. No, I was just hanging out with him like just before this.
Okay.
I was over at his hotel room, and he had like 8 new guitars he built, and he is amazing because he doesn't have any ego, and I think that he really just wants to recreate the traditional instruments and recreate that sound, and he listens to what people tell him about all the players. He'll ask me, he'll ask, anyone who is an accomplished player, Stucklow Rosenberg or Adrian Monard or any of those guys, and say, is this good, is this bad, what's wrong with it? And I think his ability to like listen and take people's criticism about his instruments to heart and go home and figure out how to make it better is really unique, and he's someone that like in just a few years has gone from like just beginning to build instruments to making like some of the best ones really fast. So yeah, and I think that's really unique quality of his. So and his instruments just keep getting better and better.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you like the old, the old sound, especially if you pick like an old Basato or Selmer, they have a certain sound, and not everyone likes that, but it's very hard to find new instruments that sound like the old ones, and he comes closer than most to that.
Wow. So how many books did you read? There's a new book coming out or something?
Well, books are tough. Books are tough, because they take a lot of time. When I started, it was just me. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a business. I'd get up every day. Especially the Gypsy Picking book. It's a smaller book, but like the Unaccompanied Django book, that took me forever to write. I would get up every day, and I would just start all day just writing out Django's music, checking it, making sure it was right, and it was just thousands of hours, and also the Gypsy Rhythm book was just so much time transcribing and writing things out and checking it. And I have 2 other books that are almost done. The other Gypsy Rhythm books, 2 and 3. Originally it was supposed to be 1 book. I thought like, I'll write a book about rhythm. It'll be 100 pages, and before I knew it, I had 500 pages. And so it's like everything. There's just so much to know, and I really wanted to try to represent it as best as I could. So. But as the business has grown and I have 2 kids, I got married, it's just like books are tough, man. Yeah, books are tough. But I'm hoping to at least finish the Gypsy Rhythm books, Volume 2 and Volume 3. I mean, they're basically written. I just need to like do the last little bits. So yeah.
Well, thanks for all your work and to help us out there.
Well, thanks
in the middle of nowhere sometimes.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the support of the whole community of Gypsy Jazz. I mean, it's
amazing the way it grew. Huh? And the website. I mean, the forum. It's a good platform too for exchange of idea and all that. Well, enjoy the wine.
I will.
Enjoy
Thank you.
talking with you.
Thank you.
So, thanks for watching Petrus 53, and like I always say, keep drinking good wine with good friend and keep playing gypsy jazz. Thank you.